Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Foreman, and this is the Ricky Carroll Mini-Me. The Mini-Me is a sized down version of the Ricky Carroll PLB, Performance Longboard. And so when you're looking at this board, you're looking at a board that has a very similar rocker to the PLB. So you can see that it does have some nose rocker. Also has a good amount of tail kick as well. This category of boards is a tough one. You get a lot of boards in this category that work really well. You get a lot of boards in this category. We're talking like in the 7 to 8 foot range or 7 to 8.5 foot range that can be duds. Like they can be jack of all trades, masters of none. Whether they be too narrow or too thin or too much rocker or too little rocker. It just seems to be a hard category to get magic boards in. And this board, and then there's another version of this board called the TMM, which is the Tune Mini-Me, have a really good blend of the amount of foam, the amount of length, the right widths, which is really important on this board, and then also the tail shapes and the rocker to make boards that actually work really good in this size range. So we're really excited about how this board works. If you like the Ricky Carroll PLB, or if you know somebody that has a PLB and is raving about it, this board has a very similar performance, but shrunk down into smaller lengths, and that's where the name came from on the Mini-Me. Talking about the design of this board, we talked about the rocker. The rocker is going to help fit the board into rounder parts of the wave. It's also going to make the board more forgiving if you're getting it as your first board, or if you live in a place that's really dumpy beach break, it's just going to fit into that wave better, both the nose rocker and the tail rocker. The other thing you're going to notice is the chines on the rails, and so you can see that right about 3/4 of an inch from the rail, you've got a defined edge. It falls off, and then you have another defined edge, and that's doing the same thing that it's going to do on the PLB, which is take volume out of the rails. Also, when you're in the water or paddling the board, give you the full width of the board, but when you're up and planing, make the board actually feel like it's a little bit narrower and roll onto that rail a little bit easier. The Mini-Me's, we tend to stock these boards in EPS Foam construction, which is a much lighter foam with epoxy resin and fiberglass. And what it gives you is it gives you a board that's really light, like underneath your arm, and also when you're surfing it. Typically when you have, this is a 7.6, when you have a board that's like this and you have it in standard PU poly, it ends up being a pretty heavy bricky board. For somebody that really likes to throw turns around, let's say you're not riding your shortboards anymore, they're too small, you're not getting to surf enough, but you want to get a board that's easy to surf but still rip on it, this board is still performance enough that you can throw really aggressive turns on it, ride good waves on it, and still have the lightness, to have the performance aspects of the board, but also have the lightness to throw it around really hard. So whether it be carving backside or pivoting really hard front side, it's not a heavy brick of a board. It's actually really light. Like underneath your arm, this thing feels like a little bit over a 6 foot like hybrid board as far as like the weight on it. The other aspect of that is for lighter frame surfers or surfers that are walking to the water, distances that just need a lighter board, that aren't physically capable of carrying a board or don't want to carry a board that's heavy. I mean, having that lighter feel under your arm, let's say you're having to walk, all the way, the walk to trestles, or a similar walk like where you're walking a good distance, or putting the board on top of the car, just the lightness definitely helps you do that. And then also the lightness is not going to overpower that lighter framed surfer. Really good feeling board, and again, I can't stress enough like how many, for this style of board, like how many duds there are, because it's fun boards. There's just fun board, get a fun board, but a lot of them you ride them and you're just really not all that impressed with the performance. Ricky really nailed it with the Mini-Me, and again, basing it off of something that was popular and successful and working really well. The PLB was a really good starting point, and then bringing it down and then finding the right widths, thicknesses, and rocker to blend it in, and he nailed it on this one. So you're going to see Mini-Me's basically in the 7 to 8 foot range is where they're the most popular, and just a great all-around board. Works in a really wide variety of surf, and you go to the beach, you get your surf on, and you have a good time. It's the Ricky Carroll Mini-Me. If you have any more questions about it, you can check out the written review underneath this video at realwatersports.com/surfing, or you can call us at the shop. Thanks for tuning in.